Thank you, Chief Mulhern, and thank you all again for coming out on this wintry evening to listen and learn something about what's going on in our community, because what we have in this county is a crisis. Over 80 heroin overdose deaths in the past 2 years. Rich Jorgensen's going to speak later. He's going to give you the exact numbers, but that is an epidemic that's going on. And it's in DuPage County, it's in all of the collar counties, and heroin knows no boundaries. The victims of heroin range from 16 years old all the way to people in their 60s. And as was said earlier, the heroin today is so pure that in many cases people use it once and they get addicted. And that's part of the problem that's going on. So what has happened? What has caused this tremendous outburst in heroin use? The heroin, most of it that's coming into the country is coming from Mexico. Half of the heroin comes from Mexico, followed by South America and Asia. And to give you some idea of what's coming into the country, between 2008 and 2012, the amount of heroin seized at the United States-Mexican border increased 232%. The purity of heroin has increased tenfold from where it was in the early 1980s. And as Representative Revelletti told you earlier, people can snort it, it can be smoked, it doesn't have to be injected. Back in the 60s and 70s, that's what turned people away from it because no one wanted to put a needle in their arm. But that's not necessary anymore in order to use this drug. What the research is also showing, which is extremely alarming, is that 4 out of 5 new heroin users have previously used some type of prescription medication. And there's a tremendous correlation between the two. And if you take nothing away from tonight other than this, those of you who have prescription medication at home, you need to lock it up, and when you're done using it, you need to get rid of it. Oftentimes, you go to the dentist, you go to the doctor, they give you a pain pill prescription. Usually it's 30 pills, sometimes it's more, and most people use not even 1/5 of that. They'll use 5 or 6 pills over the course of a few days, and what happens to the rest of it? It stays in your medicine cabinet, and that's when children are getting into it. They use it, whether it's Vicodin, Percocet, any type of these painkillers, and it's the same effect on the human body that heroin has. So what are we doing about it at the county level in the state's attorney's office? Our approach has been twofold. First of all, we have the law enforcement approach. And I'm going to talk about some of the things we're doing, but I'm going to tell everyone here tonight that this is a problem we cannot arrest and prosecute our way out of. The criminal justice system is simply not equipped and set up to deal with this epidemic. And the reality is that people who are addicted to heroin, putting them in jail or prison does absolutely nothing to solve the problem. But what we are doing is going after the drug dealers. And as Representative Revelletti mentioned earlier, he and Representative Belloc in the General Assembly gave us some significant tools to help in that regard. And they've increased the penalties for people who sell heroin, but they've also given us the state version of the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization, or RICO law. And we recently just used that law and charged it for the first time in DuPage County, a 31-defendant operation between DuPage and Cook County. And this heroin drug trafficking ring was bringing in almost $3,000 a day in heroin sales. So a significant case, with significant penalties for all of those involved, but unfortunately it's the tip of the iceberg as to what's going on out there. And these cases take months to build, and they take a tremendous amount of resources. The DEA was very involved. We worked together with them, along with a number of police agencies, in order to build and make this case. It went on for about 6 months. The cost of that type of an operation is immense. In order to get all of the big drug dealers off the street, we would have to have hundreds of these, just to give you some idea of what's going on out there. But we are making a concerted effort to go after the drug dealers. The users are a different story. The users, those who are willing to get treatment, we're trying to put them in our drug court, which is a diversion court where they get treatment, they get help, and the hope is that they'll complete the program, they'll graduate from the program, and get the case dismissed and expunged from their record. Since 2002, we've had over 682 defendants admitted into the DuPage County Drug Court, and our graduation rate is just over 48%, which is actually pretty good compared to the national average. The problem we see with heroin is there's relapse. And sometimes it's weeks later, sometimes it's months later, but it's a very, very difficult habit to break, more so than any other drug that's out there. And over 60% of the defendants who are in our drug court right now have a heroin addiction. Some are addicted to other drugs, but heroin is part of 60% of those. But the idea in this drug court is to stop the addiction. But before I finish, let me just give you some idea of when we talk about how strong and how pure the drug is. If you go out for a nice dinner, you're going to get 200 milligrams of dopamine, and dopamine is a chemical that reacts in your brain, and it basically gives you a good feeling. So 200 milligrams for a very good dinner. Someone who uses heroin gets about 1,000 milligrams of dopamine. So 5 times that amount. And that just gives you some idea of how addictive the drug is. So the county, DuPage County, has appropriated $100,000 so far towards the education effort. The county approved $50,000, and our sheriff, Zaruba, agreed to appropriate $50,000 out of his budget to fight this epidemic. And the second part of what we're doing, other than law enforcement, is education, and that's what we're all doing here tonight. That's why you're here. And the reality is, the way to beat this problem and this epidemic is through awareness and education, letting the public know, letting your friends and neighbors know about this drug and how dangerous it is. And to all of you students out there, I see a number of you here tonight, this is a drug you cannot ever use, because if you use it once, there's a likelihood you'll be addicted. And if you get addicted, the consequences in many cases can be catastrophic. You absolutely have to know enough about this to be able to say no. Don't experiment with it. Learn about it, which is what you're going to do tonight, and just don't do it. And parents, I can't stress enough to spread the word about what you learn here tonight. It is a grassroots effort, what we're undertaking and what we've been undertaking in the county. And that's really the only way to rid the county of this problem. We can and we will succeed, but it's going to take all of you, everyone here tonight and everyone you know, to make a concerted effort to beat this problem. So I commend all of you again for coming out here this evening to learn about what's going on, and please spread the word about what you learn here.